Okay, we got a quorum, so we'll begin. All right, hello everyone. It is 3 o'clock, so we will get the Human Rights Commission meeting for Monday, May 14th underway. Welcome to our guests. To start us off for the day, if we could have one of our commissioners volunteer to share the mission statement with us. Yes. And remember, they don't want us moving the mics.
Oh. Sorry. The mission of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and to improve human relations through education and community awareness.
Beautiful, thank you. Next, we have roll call.
Commissioners Andrea, Shandasina.
Present.
Commissioner Chappell had a commitment of a work meeting, so she's excused. Shapiro, DeHart.
Present.
Gross.
Present.
Messina. Ryan.
Michio.
Excuse me, thank you.
That's all right.
Morgan.
Present.
Randolph.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. So the next section, public comments. Any person who wishes to speak on a topic within the city's jurisdiction during this portion of the agenda must file a speaker card with a staff liaison before that portion of the agenda is called. Although the commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Commissioners will not enter into discussion with the speakers, but during commission comments may refer the matter to staff for report and recommendation at a future commission meeting. And we have one speaker, and I don't have your card, so I don't have my glasses, so I don't see your name either. If you could introduce yourself. And
sure. Thank you. Thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you today. My name is Renato. My last name is worse than that, so let's just leave as first name, okay? Renato. I do represent two nonprofit organizations. The first one is called HiCap. Now, some of you may have heard of us. HiCap stands for Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program. We are a nonprofit that provides free, unbiased Medicare counseling. So we don't sell anything, we don't promote any companies, we just provide counseling, we give presentations about Medicare. We can see clients as a face-to-face, we can make appointments, several senior centers nearby. The other organization I represent is Senior Medicare Patrol, SMP, that deals with Medicare fraud and abuse. So I would like to give a little speech here about the new Medicare cards that are being issued right now, if I may. Yes, Medicare should be mailing new cards to all the people that are on Medicare right now. They started mailing in the beginning of April, and they're supposed to end at the end of June if you live here in California. Now, I like to, of course, mention that if you are on Medicare, you need to make sure that Medicare has your current address, because they're going to be mailing to you, and if they don't have it, who knows who's going to receive it. And the main reason that they're mailing new Medicare cards is because the current card has your Social Security number. So they're removing that number, what is a good thing. It's going to be avoiding some fraud with the Social Security number. But unfortunately, the people that commit fraud, they're also aware of these changes. So they're coming up with new schemes to try to get the Medicare recipients. And one of them is by placing phone calls. And they're calling the Medicare recipients, stating that they are from Medicare, and stating that before they mail the new card, you have to mail $10 or to provide your personal information. So people need to be aware that Medicare will not call you. They will not call you. So if you ever receive a phone call, anybody stating that they're from Medicare, that's most likely fraud. And there's also some mail fraud that is happening. People are receiving postcards stating again that is coming from Medicare, that before they mail the new address to please mail $10. It's the same, pretty much the same way they're trying to get. So people need to be aware of this. It's so sad that they are attacking the seniors out there, and if the seniors are not well informed, they might fall for it. So I just wanted to make sure that is being publicized. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
That was the only one.
All right, we're breezing right through our meeting today. Next up is we've got commission.
Do you have some contact information
Yes, I do. I have.
giving it to us?
It
Yeah.
should be on the card. Do we have it?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't feel how I just started speaking, but I have all my business cards.
What the one group you represent, Senior Medicare Patrol?
Yes,
What was the first organization?
HICAP, HICAP, is Health Insurance Counseling and Advocacy Program. Yeah, I'm aware that what we do doesn't really sound like that name. I mean, the name sounds more like we sell caps or something, but no. Free, unbiased Medicare counselors. We provide free counseling at senior centers. The client will call us and we'll give all the information unbiased. So free and unbiased can't go wrong, right? So, yes, please.
I can't pronounce her name, but do you have that little card that shows the Medi-Cal,
The Medicare card?
that little card that we saw you handed to me?
Well, we do have several flyers and pamphlets about this new Medicare card. I have
Yes.
this one here.
Could you pass that one around?
Yeah, sure. Please. Yeah, well, I'm standing here on mine as well. Thank you.
I have some. No, I finished mine. Oh, thank you. What about the other card that has a picture of the new Medi-Cal card?
Of course, I don't have that one handy. Yeah, that one I don't have handy.
Okay.
But at the end of the meeting, I'll run on my car, get
Okay.
whatever I have there, and pass on to you. I do apologize about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, since we didn't have other speakers in the queue, we were able to spend a little bit of extra time on that segment. Next item is the commissioner, staff, and student comments. If we can start with Commissioner Michio.
None at this time, sir.
Commissioner Morgan.
I wanted to speak about something. I don't know if it'd be appropriate to mention now or at the end of the meeting. What's the difference between announcements? So probably now. If I just may, just give me a few moments to put my words together. But I feel that if I'm serving on the commission, I need to actually speak up and say something when I feel it needs to be said. Really, it's been a lot of fun doing table talk, reaching out to the community and talking to as many diverse people in our community as possible. And I think a lot of times we get stuck in our bubble. We don't necessarily hear or know exactly what's going on everywhere. And so our very first table talk, Jilska and I were up at one of the grocery markets, and the end of the questionnaire, reaching out to as many people as possible, the very first person I asked, I said, very last question, LGBT rights, there's nothing wrong with that, correct? And I kind of glossed over it. And she said, no. She said, I'm a lesbian Latina. And I was like, okay. And she said, my kids are teased. I'm tormented in my neighborhood. People write things on my car. The neighbors won't let my kids play with their kids. I mean, it was pretty strong. I mean, I've said this publicly here at meetings and out walking around town that I feel like the gay population doesn't need a voice. We have a voice. We're very political. We stand up for our rights. We know how to push legislation, what have you. And at that moment, I realized maybe for the gay white male, that's what I'm thinking about. And so it's funny because I think, electing people that represent the population is very important. And I think that, like back in 1992 was the year of the woman, and that was the most women that were ever elected to Congress in the history of the United States. And it was such a big thing. And one of the biggest things they had to do at the Capitol was build bathrooms for women. They had no female bathrooms. And not only just building bathrooms, but there was a lot more new legislation that was signed into law for women's health issues, for child daycare, all these kind of things. And so I look at that and I think, is there something that we're missing here in the Human Rights Commission? I think we all do as much as we can. I think we're all passionate about what we do and wanting to represent the population. But I don't know that we're actually representing the population as much as we could. I think, you know, I had conversation with a few other commissioners about, are we representing the population, the most of the population, or are we supposed to represent as many of the different communities as possible? And if that's the case, I think it's very important that we discuss diversity on our commission. And you guys are wonderful. You've got great experience. You just came. I just came myself. I started last July, right? And so what I would like to see is a concerted effort. You know, we've talked about in the commission meetings how 3 o'clock is not a good time for community members or for people to serve on the commission. It's not a convenient time. But I don't think it's just a time issue. I think it's also, where is that lesbian Latina here to talk about her concerns? There's a million other lesbian Latina categories that we may not be reaching out to. How many people, as we've learned going to Table Talk, actually know what the Human Rights Commission is, know that we're trying to promote diversity and treating everyone equally and with respect? So if anybody would be interested in talking about that, maybe at a later meeting, but maybe trying to figure out a way. I know it's important, like I'm a white male and maybe you could have selected somebody else and white, but I would like to see more diversity on the commission, because I think what would happen is, just as when all the women were elected to Congress back in 1992, not that the men didn't care, but it wasn't their top priority about what they felt was important. And so I think if we get more people that represent not just the white people or the white gay men, but maybe we get more people that represent communities like the lesbian Latina that had a legitimate concern that none of us really knew about or discussed. So just a thought, and maybe if someone wants to contact me outside the commission, we can talk and maybe bring something forward. But I think definitely as a Human Rights Commission that we don't need to represent the majority of the population, but we need to try to represent as many communities out there as possible. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner Randolph.
No comment.
Commissioner Gross.
Couple announcements later, but no comment.
Okay. Commissioner Sandersino.
No comments.
Oh, that was quick. And yes, you have something?
No, this is related to what we're talking about, right? But not part of the agenda?
It's your open mic for any comments that you'd like to make.
It's not about the calendar, right?
No.
No. Right. Yeah. No comment.
Okay.
A couple points. To David's remarks, as you have gone through the process of being recruited and placing your application, the council members do look at the diversity, the current makeup of the commission, and hopefully we've reached out adequately to attract individuals that would come forward, but not just with this commission, all of our commissions. There are those that are hesitant about stepping forward. They may be reluctant in being singled out. With that point, we have, as a commission, have had experiences of within the neighborhoods discrimination or derogatory remarks or hate crimes. And we have, in cooperation with the police LBGT liaison, as well as the neighborhood groups, and tried to mediate to some extent, but it may be more education. And we're not mindful of those incidents that are happening in the neighborhoods. And maybe we need to be more involved in making that come forward. Because unless we do, oftentimes out of sight, out of mind. So that may be something we would want to explore further. Thank you.
Okay, nothing for me, and we don't have any student representation today, so we go on to item 6, and our presentation is postponed until a little bit later in the meeting. Our students, most of the students ended up being in AP testing, so I think a number of them will not be able to get here for another 30 minutes or so. And our guest speaker, item 7, from Maureen Foreman from the Jewish Family Services. She had a family emergency yesterday. So she was willing to reschedule for June. So we'll shift her into our June meeting, and we'll come back to our community recognition when our students arrive later on. Item 8, master calendar. Now we've got calendar talk.
Okay, okay, wonderful. So we have almost come to the end of our year, and our next big event on our calendar is May 18th, Friday the May 18th, the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast. And then on June, it is save the date for the downtown, the Elder and Dependent Adult Abuse Symposium, which I sent you the email for registrations. So those are, and also, yes, that's it.
I'm sorry, are you representing the commission at the symposium?
Yes.
Okay.
But I like lots of the commissioners to go because it's an awesome day. Because they have the whole forensic team present there. And we do case studies, so it's very interesting.
Okay, and I think with Harvey Milk, we just needed an RSVP from one Commissioner Randolph. Were you able to attend?
I thought I sent it back. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So I think with that, we've heard from everybody on the commission, so we're good to go there. Okay,
Okay.
excellent. That takes care of calendar. Nothing in July?
Tabletop. Next one.
So you're good?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. All right, subcommittees. Let's see, we've got Community Outreach and Marketing. Commissioners Sandra Sina, Gross, Morgan, and Randolph. Ba-dum-bum.
Sorry, we were just communicating there. So Table Talk, as you know, we have a few more dates lined up, and after these dates, then we're going to compile the information. So I know that would be very exciting. Table Talk, for people that are not familiar, we actually decided to reach out to the community and ask them what's important and things that are bothering them, or things that they think we should be working on, other than just what we think is important. And we've got some great response, just various locations all around the city, trying to get as many different kinds of people to participate as possible. So just really quickly, Sunday, May 19th, 11 to 1, Stater Brothers at Sunrise in Vistachino. Sunday, June 10th, 1 to 3, we're having a women's gathering. It's going to be a poker game. Tuesday, June 12th, 7 p.m. at the Highlands Community Center. And Thursday, July 19th, at the American Legion. And I have a copy of this for everybody, but for the commissioners, if you're interested, I'm gonna pass around one that you can put your name on if you wanna attend any of these, and then I have another one that you can keep just for good time's sake. Thank you.
So my role on the subcommittee, the marketing subcommittee, I've kind of taken on, I spent 22 years in radio and television advertising. I've interfaced with many big ad agencies. So I've reached out to an ex-client and a friend of mine in San Francisco and asked him if he would consider some pro bono work to create an identity for the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission that's separate from the national HRC with the equal sign. Because often when you say, oh, I'm with the Palm Springs HRC, people automatically go because they're very well branded, and we are not. So this goes along with the awareness aspect of trying to get an identity going for the commission, because I think it's a very important commission, and if people knew more about it, they put their 2 cents in, which we want. So I reached out to him today. We'll see if he will take us on. I didn't ask for very much. I asked for maybe a tagline, a logo, so that we could maybe order some buttons or something of that nature for next year. I'm starting out really slow, and I'm not thinking about a lot, but until we start creating brochures and doing this, although the city one is fabulous, but if we want people to know us, then we need to create some excitement. So hopefully that will be forthcoming. I hope to hear from him soon. And then on the tail of that, I'm working on the finance budget for next year, and as Dale pointed out to me, it's $2,000. What more do you want to know? Well, I want to look at the line items, and I think it would be good. I will work on the budget, and I'll bring something, a rough draft, if we can put it on the agenda for next time to discuss. This is for next year, of course. We're set for this year. And some of the things that I do want to do is, it wouldn't be very hard to put money towards an awareness campaign on social media for, if we're only trying to reach the 45,000 plus citizens of Palm Springs. So I'm kind of excited about that because I want to have this commission put its footprint here and be efficient and a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my report of what I'm doing on the subcommittee.
Excellent.
For clarification of the budget, will you be taking action, or are you just going to be reporting out a proposed budget for the coming year?
I think I should bring a rough draft proposed budget, and therefore all commissioners can put their 2 cents in. You know, right now, as we know, we're spending 600 of the 2,000 on the Harvey Milk Diversity Breakfast. I don't want to be the one that says, oh, we're not doing that anymore. Who am I? So I think I need to bring it here for everyone to have a discussion, you know, decide. Maybe we don't need buttons.
For clarification, the commission has always had a bronze sponsorship of Harvey Milk, and it's a 1,000. So just to make clarification.
Thank you.
So the other item on, I think we're not in a position where we can make any recommendation to city council on a change in the budget, correct?
Probably not as an increase.
Yeah.
Because we are going through the budget process now.
Right.
But as you've asked to be able to solicit grants or underwriting opportunities, we did have a donation, and it has boosted the budget for this year. So any contributions that come outside the 2,000 general fund budget, that adds to your own budget. So you've had that occur. So with those funds, typically, we would not carry them over as the general fund budget, but as a donation, as a restricted funds, those would carry over to your next year. Yeah.
And also to the reason to create an identity and a brand of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is so that then we can develop packages, sponsorships, that type of thing, to create our own revenue. But I think I will ask for more money, Dale, so.
Of course. One question, one informational too, was it 3 years ago? It was prior to me even becoming involved in the commission. The commission did go through a branding effort. And I know you had it on, and established a logo. So now if that's the intent to revisit that, and then, yeah, Ron, yours was better in the front.
Oh. So this is what came, I think it was 3 years ago. And I had just come on also, but they spent quite a bit of time getting to this point. So I think if this can blend with the direction you're going from concept messaging, that would, it works fine versus a total relogoing when this one hasn't even given an opportunity to get exposure, unless the feeling is it's not something that's working, period. Then I think that's another question altogether. Do we want to look at that brand from a logo standpoint?
Yeah.
And that's something the committee should certainly be looking at.
So what I'm going to send to this gentleman is our logo, and I wasn't aware that was the logo. I thought it was the city one at the top here.
Oh,
I thought that was our logo, so I wasn't even aware of that one. So be sure and send that and our mission statement. And then I'm gonna leave it alone, because this is what this guy does for a living,
Sure.
and he's really good at it. And if he'll do it for no cost to us, well, I think we should listen.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's
But thanks
nice.
for pointing that out, Ron, I wouldn't have known it.
The other, I don't want you to go down a path where we can't have any change or impact. I doubt very seriously we're gonna have any ability to get more than $2,000 since the budget is already beyond, it's out of the train station. The train left a long time ago. But you can, or the committee can be looking at how the distribution of that $2,000, that can be whatever you want to bring to the table. And if we want to look at next year's, I would come up with that funding request now so we can start those conversations and get it into the cycle now for next June of 19. Because it's not a short process.
Is there a deadline when we have to submit our requests?
Typically, the departments are requested in March to be able
Wow,
to.
we're
to-
late.
Well, and that's why I'm saying this coming fiscal year, it's not likely. But what Ron is pointing out, if we look forward to next fiscal year, so it would be March 2019, we need to be refining and moving forward what our recommendations and use of funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think council votes in the next meeting or two. Is it June?
June, all municipalities as well as the state must have their budgets approved by the end of June.
So that's what I mean, that we're so far down the road. They've already got a draft that they've been reviewing that's coming up for vote in the next couple of council meetings.
I was unaware, I apologize. So, what they're voting on is the same exact budget and line items that we had this year?
Line items are not important.
It's
The
just the
total
budget.
200. To us, the line items could be whatever the committee wants to
Okay.
make those recommendations.
Okay, and again, I'm a committee of one. If anyone would like to join me, I'd be happy. I mean, it won't take us long to spend $2,000.
Hey, wait a minute, I thought you recruited me last
Well,
month.
I didn't pressure you into saying yes.
Oh, I'm
Are you
yes, I'm
saying
on it
yes?
now.
Okay, he's in.
Can I ask process, so I understand $2,000, but we can also solicit donations, which Carrie can carry year to year. But if we had a one-time special event, outreach program, some sort of programming that we created, is it, and I don't know, I mean, I've seen city council meetings, but is it impossible if we had something that was really good, that we went to city council and we need X amount of dollars because this is what we want to do for an outreach, for a community event, what have you, that's outside of the $2,000? Is that possible? And I don't necessarily have an idea, but just to think of the possibilities, to have the, we have the 2,000, we can solicit donations, and is that another possibility?
One can never say it's not possible, but we've tried to get onto a process that, like our budget, it's pretty systematic, as well as the council annually has sponsorships and contributions. They go through that like in January, and if there was a type of program that we wish to move forward and ask for city sponsorship in addition to what you receive in your budget, that could be likely. So there's ways that, but it's always pre-planning. I mean, we can't just have this brilliant idea and exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, so the idea would be continue to develop that thought, if it's the subcommittee on marketing or outreach, whichever it is, and be planning ahead, knowing that there's going to be a deadline in, is it first part of January? So early in 2019, we've got to submit the application to get into that funding request, which goes from January, February, March, April, May. It's not approved until June. So early submittal and approval comes, or an answer comes in June.
We're business people and we go at a different pace, so please tell us what the restraints and And,
Well, welcome to
we'll
the
comply.
welcome to the rodeo.
Yes, exactly.
I
Thanks
have
very
a
much for the
question, if I
info.
could.
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the city's public access television, is there any opportunity for brand, increasing your public profile, branding, that type of thing? I mean, not outright advertising, but, just little public service announcements that speak to what we are trying to do and that type of thing.
Certainly with the own city commissions, we're able to do that. But when we get into, joining with partners and other entities, and especially if you have, the private sector
sector,
involved,
right,
and
right.
they maybe want a product logo or something, just much like.
Sponsorship,
Yeah.
some kind of
They're-
sponsorship.
yeah, so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just like the video that you created for the awards presentation, we can create something like that and post on the channel? Is that,
I don't know what the specific guidelines are, but I've been told yes.
Oh, wow.
So,
That-
I think
it
that's
is
a
a
really
channel,
good.
it's a medium that's available to us. So the marketing subcommittee should be incorporating that into your annual marketing plan. That this is one of the avenues that we would like to gain exposure of, just like the website, just like you're talking about social media, that the public access channel is another opportunity to get that message out, whatever the message is that you come from your marketing plan. Is there somebody that maybe the subcommittee can meet with on the city side to see what other opportunities for outreach and marketing are available to the subcommittee?
I can pursue that and then get back with the subcommittee. As other commissions, we're to work through our director of communications, and oftentimes it depends upon what time of the year and what else is, competing for the time. So I'll explore it more.
So I think it's come up a number of times last year, maybe inviting Amy to the meeting and to have her give us a briefing. I wonder, because I think we have new commissioners. I still haven't heard the big picture. So I wonder if this is the opportunity for us to issue an invitation if the marketing subcommittee thinks it would be worthwhile.
Whether it's with the full commission or to do the subcommittee, that may be more constructive. But I'll
Do you
explore
have a
that.
preference, subcommittee?
I think it'd be more productive if we can understand what her
Right,
part of it
right,
is, so that
right.
we can adjust, and then we'll report back to everyone else.
Yeah, I would see it more as a working subcommittee, and you can have a,
Exactly.
exchange and a give and take, so.
Yeah, exactly.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dell, you'll set that up? Beautiful.
Can I just tag on one thing to that? Within that, does it fall within that immediate scope of work to also take a look at what was briefly mentioned in terms of contributions or potential contributions? Because here's my question about contributions. Do they wind up in the Palm Springs City Foundation, which has its own process for dispersing funds and its own world? Or is there a way for those funds to be maintained separately?
Yes.
To-
Actually, council at the upcoming meeting will be taking on the community fund process. And we are receiving donations, and they are being set aside in restricted funds. But it's two separate staff members. The communications is one, and then fund development is another. So we may need to have a second opportunity to sit down and look at this fund development and how that could be structured.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
They're related, but they are.
But it also, all this has come from the neighborhood involvement and how they've been able to structure and separate the funding from each of the neighborhoods. So yes, we could do something similar to that.
Great.
Okay.
So Jim gave me another assignment.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's just pile it on. We got to keep you busy. Summertime's coming up. Okay, student representative update. Who would like to address that? Vice Chair Chappelle is absent. Commissioners Sandersina, Cirillo, Morgan.
Hello. So we're very excited. This is the most progress we've made in a long time. We're meeting with Mike Ventura Thursday at 12:15 with a few different student groups to discuss what we're looking for.
Oh, excellent.
For the commission. We've explained quite explicitly that we wanted to have somebody that can actually attend once a month to really represent the students. And the vice principal, Mike Ventura, said that he's got a lot of people that would be interested. What we're going to do on Thursday is just kind of talk about the commission. I believe if you're still able to go, then we're just going to kind of talk about the commission, what we're all about, and how we want them to be interactive. Kind of like what we were talking about earlier, is involving as many different communities as possible. Then really put down the responsibility to the student that they are representing the students, because we don't necessarily know what's going on in the schools. And so we'd love to actually have them reach out to the other schools and see if maybe there's some sort of dialogue that they can encourage between the different schools, and then come back and actually represent here at the meetings and talk about issues, things that are happening, not just the prom, which the prom is important, of course, or a football game, but really talk about any kind of issues that are happening in the schools that we may not be aware of.
Nice. That's wonderful progress. Thank you for working on it. Senior Independent Adult Bill of Rights. Jim, you want to give us an update on the expo?
Yeah, and thanks for leading with the term expo, because talk about branding. We didn't really clarify branding right up front, and we've used a couple of terms for this event, but expo is what's sticking. Senior expo of that. So just to reinforce that. Quite a bit has actually happened. Bottom line is the folks I'm working with at Mizell have had some time constraints, family emergencies, a number of distractions over there. Very committed, though, to the event. And even aside from those distractions, there's a general sense that we've come from, and Jenny Fote was part of our discussion, and she joined one of our planning meetings, that are we, the key question, and I'll tell you how we answer, but the key question she put to us is, are we trying to do something expedient, but perhaps missing the full potential of the event by pushing it too hard, maybe missing some segments that need to hear about whatever. Collectively, given those combined forces, we agreed that even with the revised June date, which some of you had heard about, even that, we were pushing what could be a much better and larger scale event. Particularly given the positive thing is that the agencies are very enthusiastic about being there. They really want this to go. So bottom line, we are looking now to move the event into October. We don't have a date yet for that. We'll get that established probably within a week or two, and you guys, of course, will be among the very first to know. But the concept will certainly be pretty much the same. And also, in light of the conversation that just completed as well, part of what we confronted in that meeting was the fact when asked, so what kind of a budget will the commission be able to help with the publicity on it? I said, no budget. And so there's a desire there to have the commission and the city to take a fresh look at that, because to hear from the Mizell side, and it was Ginny's position representing Mizell, which she does, is that, well, we're putting in money, for instance, they're going to host the breakfast, they're going to do a number of things that they're really time and dollars are putting into it. So there is that other element, and I have some budget. I will feed those over to you, so you have them as part of your packet, because we have developed 2 or 3 budget items from those discussions. So I'll flow those over to you so they become part of our general thing, but just wanted you to be aware of the budget discussions coming up there as well. And is there anything else I need to tell you about on that? Ooh, can't read one of my notes here.
I think this is going to be a really fantastic event, and thank you for all your contribution to it. I think it's going to be very impactful. So
Well,
good for you for delaying and getting it right.
Well, good. Yeah, well, I think we're all feeling good about it. But I will tell you is that for me, it's like, wow, it's like cloud 9, because of the agencies that want to be a part of it. 201, they are jumping through hoops and everything. And I think the only problems we're really looking at, for lack of a better term, is a good problem. which is that perhaps some oversubscription or some of those types of fall off type of things in a way that just presents another opportunity to us to come back and do even more in another round of programming. So, yeah, I'm happy with where we are, and that is where we are. And I can't read my last note, so it must not be that important. So if I think about it, I'll mention it. Otherwise, I'm done.
May I bring up one other thing before we move off of subcommittees? So, one of my great interests, and part of the reason why I applied to be on the Human Rights Commission, is affordable housing for numerous reasons. One, I came from San Francisco, where only rich people can live now, and I don't think that's right, and I saw it happen right in front of my eyes. I mean, I was a real estate agent there, and when I had police officers and teachers who wanted to buy homes there, and this was going back 10, 15 years, couldn't do it. Or if we could do it, it was in the outskirts. And that doesn't seem right to me, that people who work in your city cannot afford to live in the city. Of course, capitalism will take its course, and people will charge whatever rents they're going to charge. Therefore, I think it's important that the city do what it can to create housing, and I'm not talking about homeless housing, that's a different issue. I'm talking about affordable housing for working people who work here in our city. Casino workers, police officers, firemen, all those teachers, all those kind of things, so that they aren't forced to go down valley and, now start to have to drive in for their jobs 50 miles. It's possible to nip that in the bud right now before it gets out of hand. So to that end, I'd like to know if we have an affordable housing subcommittee, or could we form one? How's that go? What's that process, Dale?
Well, certainly, I think what you're pointing to is the resources that are available. And as a commission, $2,000 isn't going to go very far. I think more of a collaboration. We've joined with the Well in the Desert, some other nonprofit housing providers. The council has established standing subcommittee on affordable housing. Staff is working to put some materials together and present it to them, and they intend to have a public forum, a community forum. So that may be our role that we can play. And I mean, you've expressed adequately the need for it, and maybe that as a commission, you may want to make a remark to that point, that there are others, interested in being involved. So
Well, I am going to start going to the affordable housing meetings. The next one's May 15th at 4 p.m. I'll attend that so that I can get educated on what's going on and what that committee is doing. And then City Council Member Holstage has kindly said she'd have coffee with me next week to discuss some ideas that I have that are surprise, out of the box. So, yeah, I'm very passionate about that and would like to kind of go up that trail there.
very good.
All right?
Thank
So we can put affordable housing as a subcommittee report, and I'll try to recruit some other members, or
Sure, so we have a a community liaison group. It just we haven't had a formal person sitting on it, that covers religious, business, health, homelessness, housing, employment affairs committee. So I
Wow.
think you just opened the door, and we welcome you to serve on that subcommittee.
okay, all right. And you'll put it on the agenda, and I'll report whatever I know.
And solve world hunger while you're at it.
Yeah. Yes, Ron?
Yeah, no, I think
Okay.
that's great.
All right, thank you very much.
Do we know who the council liaison is on the affordable housing?
I'm
Is it
pretty
Lisa
su-
Middleton?
I think it's Christie.
Christie
Holstage.
Oh.
and Lisa,
Okay.
Middleton. We may want to consider just a housing subcommittee to include homelessness and affordability. I mean, I think those efforts are going in the same direction. So,
Right. Well, I'm happy. Perhaps we should join forces.
Yes. I agree. I think maybe just an overarching housing subcommittee is probably a good thing, because, I mean, there's the, you know, you're saying we're restricted by funds, certainly, but you can certainly do advocacy, and, you know, that doesn't cost as much, or it's more time and, you know, talent related. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea, is to kind of lump it all into one thing. And well, I'll say some more later when it's my turn.
Okay, so the other thing on the senior and dependent adult bill of rights, we've got Expo update. From a timing standpoint, we probably will have a couple more opportunities for speakers to come and present with us. So if you have any ideas for a July speaker, or if there's a resource out there that you'd like us to hear from so we can get that feedback, certainly let me know or let Dale know, and then we can, you know, work together to get an invitation out to somebody for July. And then from then on, it's just a matter of compiling what we've become aware of. And I hope the findings from Table Talk will be ready by then too, so we can pull some of the information from that and include it. So from July, August, September, collecting this data and coming up with what is it that you know, this recommendation to City Council may look like, and cap it off hopefully with feedback from the expo in October, and the goal would be to get something into City Council's hand by the end of the fourth quarter. And then we would move on to our next, whatever that next topic is going to be, and we'll shift away from Senior Bill of Rights. Okay, so that's what the timing looks like on what's coming down the road. External updates, Desert Highland Gateway Estates Community Association, Commissioner Sandra Sina.
Last month I was present at the meeting, and I think the Mayor Moon was also present. Ben talked well. They have their meetings every other month, and so the next meeting is in June, and I'll be there, and Commissioner Morgan will be there too.
Okay, Homelessness Task Force, Commissioner Andrade.
Okay, Dale, you might need to help me out with this. We did go to the meeting. We were both there, right? It was the first meeting with the new leadership, first without Ginny and now Christy, but still Jeff. I personally felt that we didn't really get down to doing an awful lot of business at that point, because it was on the agenda that we were going to restructure some committees and that type of thing. And because we're meeting every 3 months now, I feel as if some of that committee structure has sort of waned. A lot of people don't have assignments, don't have a job to do anymore, and so they're sort of fading away a little bit. So I'm hoping that that happens. But there was a lot of information from Path of Life Ministries, who, as you probably all know, is the entity that is essentially replacing Roy's services. And Nikki, just to your point about you didn't mean homeless housing, they are a housing first model. So that means that they are looking to get homeless people into housing before they do anything else. And that's the type of housing that you're speaking about. No shelters, they're not shelter oriented, they're not facility oriented. They are get a person into housing, get a roof over their head, and then we can start the services that they need to stay in that housing and to be able to continue and not be at risk of losing it. So
is
that's the
the
big
housing, providing housing contingent on people engaging in services being offered?
Well, I think since we don't have a huge housing stock, that they probably are looking for the people that are interested in doing that first. People apply, people have sponsorships through the other organizations like the Well or like the county and that type of thing, the local police auxiliaries. But yeah, it's normally not contingent on that. It's just you want a place to live, we put you in, and then you accept the services and you move on. So that was kind of, I felt like the gist of the meeting, mostly hearing what Path of Life Ministries has been doing up to this point and what they're hoping to do going forward. So.
Okay, no update from the Main Street meeting. Jim, any human rights related issues from 1PS?
No, we'll just all see you over at Harvey Milk on Friday. There will be a 1PS table, so I'm glad for that. It's an interesting adventure, and I'm glad we're sponsoring one, so that's about it.
Excellent. And the Palm Springs Police Department LGBT Outreach Committee, Captain Peters is retiring. So we just saw Captain Combs retire and cycle through to Captain Peters, and now we're going to cycle through Captain Peters to somebody new. They haven't announced. Have you heard? They haven't announced who the new person that's going to be taking the reins yet, but nothing really new out of the meeting other than a continuing conversation that we've had on hate crime speech and graffiti that's been occurring, throughout the city and the valley, and concern on whether that's a growing increase, and not just hate crime to LGBT, but hate crime to across the board, ethnicity, and based on gender, sexual orientation. So that's an ongoing conversation that we're having.
The graffiti, it's not concentrated in a particular area or areas, it's just kind of everywhere. Just out of curiosity.
It's hate speech and graffiti through, it's been Little Tuscany, Las Palmas, coming in on 111 in Cathedral City, coming into Palm Springs. So, it's there. And, we're just trying to make, we can do what we can to raise awareness, to encourage people to report it when they see it, or if they're the recipient of somebody using hate speech, to call the non-emergency line and report that it happened, because that's not happening enough. And we need the police department to know when it is happening and where, so it can be monitored.
And just briefly on the graffiti thing, a little bit more of a positive note. I live in El Rancho Vista Estates, which has walls on two sides, which quite frankly are just the most inviting targets, I think, in the city for graffiti. And I'm pleased to report we do not have a graffiti program, or a problem. And the reason we don't, we don't have that problem, and the reason we don't is that the city's response when graffiti is reported, when it is reported, particularly on the smartphone app, it's down within a day or two, consistently, year after year after year. And when I stop to think of what really works, time after time after time in the city, that's one program that really does work. So I think as I look around the city, occasionally I see a little bit. I don't see a whole lot, though, and a lot of it I know is because it comes down within 24 to 48 hours of when it goes up.
It's the battle of the paintbrushes versus the spray paint cans.
Yeah, but that side is of the program. I mean, there's still work, but that's not the program.
You can text a picture to the city?
Yes, you can.
What's that number? Do you have
Well,
the number?
actually, it's an app, and it's at your service. Is not that the right app? It's got a multiple city
I don't know what
services
it
on
is.
It's what?
I'm not sure what it is.
Oh, well, there is a Palm Springs at your service.
Nice graffiti.
But it's bigger than it's on there, but it's more than that. And it is an app that you load into a smartphone or into a tablet. And the neat thing about it is, of course, you take a picture of it and it sends the picture along with the description of the problem.
And that's for numerous,
Lots of city services.
right, I mean, encampments, property damage, city property damage, graffiti.
Code compliance.
Code compliance, yes. And also, too, there's a different app you can locate the shopping carts, and there is a private service that comes out to pick up the shopping cart. I can pass those along to you.
And posting on Facebook, posting on the neighborhood app, next door is nice and good for awareness within the community, but it does absolutely no good for the police department. So encourage folks, if you see something that's posted on either one of those social apps, encourage that individual to report it to the non-emergency number.
Yep.
Even if it's been in the past, just so the police department is aware and they can record it.
Yeah, but
Because
Ron,
they're
one,
not looking at that information.
yeah, Ron, the one thing I would say is, oh, geez, I lost my thread. What did you just start with a second ago? About?
When they're posted, when, say somebody posts something about hate crime or.
Oh, yes, on Nextdoor, yes, and say, yeah, and it is absolutely true. Yeah, the police department does not look at the individual postings. So, but our officer for our neighborhood, and I've heard this at 1PS a lot too, the police department really does want events are potential dangerous situations, potential crimes reported there. Why? Not so much to look at the police department, but because it tends to put neighbors
Yeah.
aware of
Sure.
that. And we've had very good luck in my neighborhood, and I've heard others from 1PS, where 2 or 3 people have seen something suspicious, put it on Nextdoor, and they agree, somebody calls the police department, and then there's something to work with.
Yeah.
So it does work from that standpoint, but no, don't use it in place of 911. That's absolutely right, or even for the regular dispatch
Yeah,
number.
yeah. But do both,
Yeah.
is the point that we're trying to make to folks. Okay, moving on to item C. Dale, this is the staff update?
This
Oh.
was part of the committee. I think David was going to explore it more and see how we can be more engaged in social media. That was his request.
Well, I noticed on social media, I mean, being part of the outreach committee, one very simple, very low cost, actually no cost way to promote what we're doing as we're trying to get our name out there so people know exactly what we're trying to accomplish is through social media. And having done that, big scale, small scale, there are other commissions in the city of Palm Springs that are actually using this, and I just want to make sure everything's kosher that we can start on that. Because the commissioners are what I'd like to do, and I can even give you a little tutorial, individually to install Instagram so you can be a part of it, but we could actually start posting pictures of the Harvey Milk Breakfast or the 1PS picnic or table talk, anything that we're doing out in the community, some of the student marches. That's a great way for us to actually raise visibility about what we're doing. There's some good ones out there, and it's very simple. It's not political. It just shows that we have activity. I'd be more than happy as part of the outreach and marketing committee to actually post the pictures, but if the other commissioners are out and about and they see things happening, please forward pictures. I just want to make sure everyone's okay with that, and I would like to encourage all of the commissioners to actually, if you don't have Instagram, if you wouldn't mind it being public and being a part of the commission's social media wise, let's get together and kind of put that together if there's no problems with that. So that's fine?
I will follow up and get back to you.
Too good to be true. Okay, item D, changing meeting time. We asked to have this put on the agenda for this meeting so we could actually discuss and determine whether we would be in agreement to moving the meeting time from current schedule at 3 p.m. to possibly a 5 or 6 p.m. And the suggestion was, even if we tried it for the next quarter at least, to see if it has any impact whatsoever. My feeling was, let's bring it forward, and what do we got to lose to try? But either 5 or 6, I'm just want to throw it out on the table and hear what other commissioners might think.
I think it's worth a try. I
Yeah.
mean, I certainly can make the change. In my job, I make my own appointments, so I just won't make one during that time.
Yeah, and for me, no issue at all. The only question pops up related to scheduling is August. Are we meeting in August? Or are we all dark in August?
Typically not.
We're all dark.
We'll be all dark. So when you say we might want to consider that for third quarter, we're talking July and September. aren't we?
Through September, yeah.
Through September. So
Is
we'd
what
have
I
a couple.
what I was thinking.
Yeah, so we'd have a couple of meetings, in other words, to try it out. But
Three.
yeah, I think it makes sense, and I absolutely support the sentiment behind it, which is hopefully trying to make our commission more open and more available to people with time constraints during daylight. Not that it's dark, but whatever.
I did follow up after the meeting and in consultation with the city clerk's office as well as our cable access staffing. The suggestion was that if there was 3 possibilities that could be considered, I would move those forward to see how other commission meetings, if there's any conflicts, or you just talking of the time itself, not changing the day, just the time frame. Be mindful, we started our meeting at 3. There are times when we have lengthy meetings, so, I mean, after business hours or into the dinner time, so. But I would move that forward at the recommendations that you would want to do. If you wanted, do it on an experimental basis or change it for the entire next year, fiscal year. So at your direction, I will pursue it and then get back to you as to what would be best that works for everyone.
And my suggestion in bringing it forward was to try something, not to come in and vote on institute something, a permanent change, but just to try, especially before we get into the new school year. We don't have a student involved, and it just so happens we don't have that I'm aware of, we don't have young kids at home that we're dealing with, and before we used to have some of those challenges with commissioners. So if we tried it through September's meeting, 5 o'clock is still it's toward the end of the workday for people who still can come. It's not getting too late into the night, and if it is a longer meeting, it still gets us to complete the meeting at a sensible hour.
I think 6 is better. I understand the concern about it going later, but if you have kids and you gotta pick them up from school and you gotta provide dinner, or even if you need to get dinner yourself, it's really not very much time to get here by 5. 6 gives you a little breathing room, and I don't know, I have cats to take care of, so.
6 o'clock?
Yeah, I would support 6.
Just
Okay.
out of curiosity, is the rationale behind this public comment that people can't get here, or is it,
We traditionally have very low attended meetings, and is there really a reason as to why we have low attended meetings? We don't have any solid statistics on that, but some of the comments that have been heard in the past is that 3 o'clock is a hard meeting time for people to
Okay.
get away from work. For us, we stayed at 3 o'clock because we had solid student participation, and it was a good time for those students. Later, created challenges for our students to participate. But now that we're going into summer, my thought was, let's try a different time window and see if it has any impact whatsoever on increasing the level of participation and the ability for the community to come and be with us and share their thoughts and comments. And then that would give us an idea, okay, do we make a permanent change? Do we look at that with the city and make some type of a permanent change going forward?
okay, thank you.
As I said, the direction I was given that they preferred like three different time frames. So it seems the consensus, your first would be 6 p.m.
Well, if they've got to give 3, why don't we say 5, 6, and 6:30?
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6.
We'll give them 2. Can we compromise on 2 instead of 3? 5 and 6, are we okay with that, with 6 being the prior preference, 6 and then 5?
Yeah.
Okay, 6 and then 5. All right.
Everybody feel good about that?
Yeah.
Do we have to have a formal motion or vote, or this is just a
No, this,
recommendation
I
from
think that's all I was to get is the consensus and then go back and see structurally how it would fit with scheduling here and staffing, and then be able to come back and report.
So is this something that may be set for the June meeting? We may be able to get feedback out?
It could be possible, and then I'll be in contact with you and keep you updated.
Okay, so just put it in your window on your calendar now, just in case we are able to make the shift for June and we don't have to keep pushing it down the road. We can make it happen in June. Okay? All right, sweet. And it doesn't look like our student rep is here. So I don't think we're gonna have, there was a woman who came in, do you know who she was? She walked back out. we will postpone our community presentations until the next meeting. And I certainly want to acknowledge Councilmember Holstage and Councilmember Coors, who were here to be part of that presentation or for the students who organized the March for Our Lives rally on March 24. And Jeff Coors, on behalf City Council, Jeff prepared certificates of acknowledgement for the students in addition to the commission's plaques that we have to present to them. So we will work to try to get all 8 students in summertime, which could be even more challenging than this last week of school or these last few weeks of school. But we will endeavor to make that happen. And just as an aside, sharing with our audience and with commissioner members, the 4 students from the Palm Springs High School, Jack Weaver, Melinda Solis, Hayden Poulin, Laura Pichaglio, are all being recognized as one of the outstanding voices of Palm Springs. We're 80 individuals in the community that are standing up for LGBT rights and equality, are being recognized as part of the Palm Springs 80th birthday. So those 4 students from Palm Springs High School are on that list of 80. So it's nice to see the recognition continue for the youth in the community. Yeah. Okay, so I think we got through everything. Now we got topical newsworthy items, and somebody had something. Commissioner Morgan, did you have something? No?
I have something. Today, I took a tour of the Meisler Center, and I picked up this resource, which is really great. It's a scam pyramid for elder populations. So I'm just going to pass this around, and you will not believe how many people are affected by these scams who come to me broken because of things that are happening to them. So let me pass this around.
You get to go that direction, and then I'll get it.
Evidently, the IRS is going to arrest me at any moment, so I get those
You
calls
too, huh?
all the time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention, I like to leave things on a positive note. So Jolska and I got out of our cars at the same time we were walking in. And I said, oh, did you hear on the radio about the Egyptian women's hair? She said, yes, I did. I was just listening to it too. So my point is that women's rights are human rights. And these women in Egypt who are not normally blonde and they have curly hair, they're standing up and saying, we're not doing it anymore. We're not straightening our hair anymore for you people. So I just thought it was very interesting. It was another person talking about some Japanese or Korean women who were not going to wear contacts anymore. They're going to wear their glasses and be the newscaster on the TV. So that's very heartening when I hear things like that and people standing up for themselves. And that seems like what we're trying to do is get everyone to stand up for themselves.
Yep. Okay.
We're general announcements, right?
Yep.
General announcement, as I said, I had one. The Pride Prom was last Saturday night, and it was enormously successful. Ron, I think you may have been there. Unfortunately, I came down with food poisoning that afternoon, so I was not able to be a wedding officiant, which I've loved doing for 5 years, but not legal, by the way. These are play, well, not play exactly, but whatever, simulated. But we had over 350 kids again this year, from something like 15 to 17 high schools all told, and primarily high schools, but we also get middle schools. Raymond Cree's always got some students here from us. And College of the Desert is sending a large contingent too every year. So it's a wonderful deal every year, and it's great. And tragedy averted, along with me getting sick the afternoon of prom. The main air conditioning unit at the Air Museum failed. And thanks to the incredible, these people at the Air Museum, they're wonderful. And they love everybody. They opened up their new hangar for us kind of prematurely, so we had to kind of sidestep over to another hangar. But fortunately, it had its AC unit working, and all was well. It was a great night.
Yeah, it was a great event.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, sweet. Excellent. Well, we have a student here. Can you find out who it is? Yes, and congratulations to Safe Schools. I heard it was 441 attendance.
When I checked with Doug, when I checked with Doug Haregrove, who is the head of Safe Schools, this afternoon, Ron, he
Oh,
mentioned to me their revised numbers between 350 and
Yeah,
400.
great
It's
great
still-
numbers regardless,
Yeah.
and it is the prom to go to throughout Coachella Valley, and it's nice to see it continue to grow. This is the 7th year that we've had the prom, and it's nice to see it's becoming more and more popular, and you can pay hundreds of dollars to go to other proms down Valley, and the kids come to this prom and they have more fun, and it's more exciting, and they have a great time. So the item I had to add is to start thinking about our annual meeting, and if maybe we can pick a date. I don't know if Dale, you might be able to help us from a scheduling standpoint. Is everybody okay if we send out a doodle? Can we do a doodle? Yeah, is everybody okay if we do doodle? So we'll do a doodle to pick that meeting time and some period of 2 or 3 hours that we could have uninterrupted time to talk about who and what the commission is all about, and really go through the makeup of the commission itself, and to really set the tone for where we see us going for 2019, okay? So we'll get that, and I'll work with Dale on getting that doodle out, and we'll get a date so we can have it set before the next meeting.
And Ron, we're on the verge of getting a new commissioner or two, is that correct?
We have them.
Meet the 2 new commissioners.
Oh, well, we've already seen, okay, hello. Well,
No, there,
I'm obvious. You tell what plan I'm on today. Well, never mind then, my comment is just totally ridiculous. I was gonna ask if we can include
no,
it.
Jim is correct in that there were staggering
Oh,
terms.
with expiring terms, you mean?
Yes, yeah. We do have 2 commission seats that will have to be,
But when is that?
it would, well, the
July?
expiration is June 30th.
Oh.
So, but I did hear earlier that we wanted to look at HRC representative recruitment. So I was going to have conversations with the city clerk office to see when that process would begin, because they will do, I think they're soliciting applications now, and those who currently are seated that have expiring terms, they will be contacted if they wish to reapply, as well as new members of the community will have an opportunity. So you're right on target, so we're a little ahead of the game, but it would also involve the council subcommittee to do the interviews, and I don't know that entire schedule yet, so that's.
Well, my point in even starting this was to suggest that if we are on the verge, which evidently we are at some point in early summer, of having 2 new commissioners, it would seem to me it makes sense to have our annual meeting at some point after they've been able to join the commission, unless there's some horrendous delay over the summer in getting it done, which never surprises me, but I'm hoping we can get it done.
Yeah.
Agenda items. Do you have any others?
Any agenda items for the next meeting that we need to bring up, other than finance budget?
I've got those.
Okay. Anybody else have any? So we're going to come back to our item number 6 on the agenda, and that's our recognition, community recognition. And we welcome back our council members Holstage and Coors, who are with us to help us with this presentation today. And at the commission's direction, we set out to thank the student organizers of the March 24, 2018 rally that took place across the country. And locally, we wanted to thank our student organizers for their leadership, courage, and activism that they displayed during this ambitious student-driven movement that emerged after the South Florida High School massacre. We're extremely proud of the local students who organized one of the 800 protests that occurred around the world. And with us today is one of the student organizers from Desert Hot Springs High School. And we would like to call up our council members and John Terry from the Desert Hot Springs High School, and recognize John for his role and all the students who participated for their actions and leadership that elevated gun control as a key issue, and the fact that they've inspired a generation of peers to register and vote. We're proud of the students, and they brought great credit to youth in the community and to not only the Desert Hot Springs High School, but the students from Palm Springs High School and from throughout the valley that participated. So here we are. I'll present this on this side, and we'll let the audience see us. Here we go. Congratulations. And Jeff, you want to make any comments on behalf of the city with the certificate?
Sure. So, excuse me, do you want us to talk in the mic?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Sure.
Let's three of us can come up.
You want to sit at the table here?
Yeah, grab them. We'll grab them. Sure.
Do you want to sit right here?
Yeah. So John, very happy to present the certificate of recognition from the city, from both the Human Rights Commission and the City Council, just thanking you for your work organizing. For anyone who was there or watched it or read about it, it was incredibly moving, and we're so excited to see the next generation of leadership take on such an important issue. So thank you so much for your work on this.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. So here you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really amazing because your generation, I think I'm a millennial, you might be a millennial too, has really taken this issue and shown leadership in a way that prior generations just haven't been able to. And the way that you're using organizing and social media is just so impressive to all of us. And we're so lucky to have you in our community. We're grateful for your political leadership. We have a lot to learn from you, and we look forward to doing that, and we hope that you continue your political leadership, your organizing on important social issues, speaking out for human rights and social justice for all of our communities. And we're just really honored by all of the work that you've done, and we're happy to have you here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Do you have any comments?
John, before you leave, do you have any comments that you'd like to share?
No, well, I'm just glad and grateful to be a part of that experience, to be able to plan and organize, and that they let me speak. So, yeah, I'm just glad I got to share my voice with everyone.
Excellent. Well, thank you for standing up. Thank you.
Yes. Want to take some photos?
Sure.
Do you want to do it here by the flag?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Photo. Begin it.
I'm going to give Dale my camera.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Dale?
It's not the small one. Okay.
No, it is this one.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay, ready?
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, maybe, then if you come over here, then we'll angle differently.
All right.
So we don't have the table in front. So let's, okay. There we go.
So this should probably go on Instagram.
Okay, I think I got enough of that one. Who's over this block?
That's Jeff's.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, beautiful. Oh, one more? It's done.
We'll share.
All right.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, and congratulations. Thanks for coming and being with us today. Thank you.
So much. Thank you.
And thank you to this commission for doing this. It's really important.
Yeah.
Just don't want to go out of
Yeah,
order.
yeah.
Want me to, I'll be very quick.
So
Since we're on
one,
that agenda item,
a quick item on updates. Councilmember Coors would like to provide an update to the commission.
When it comes to vacancies on commissions, Councilmember Middleton and I on Wednesday will be asking at the next council meeting that we extend terms of people whose terms are expiring if they are willing to continue serving till the end of the year. And we're recommending that the city hire a diversity consultant and work with us to do a level of outreach that we haven't done at this point. We've done, some outreach, but we really need to do much broader outreach. And maybe on your next agenda, if Chairman, if someone from the commission wants to work with Councilmember Middleton and I as part of the diversity ad hoc group, that would be really great, to really think about how we broaden our outreach. And we're going to do it in conjunction. We're working on a contract with the diversity consultant to also work with us on the outreach on the district elections, on the California Voting Rights Act.
Oh.
So we were just going to do the commissions first, but the timing was so tight, we thought, let's do this right and take the time. So if your term is expiring, you don't have to stay, but we hope you will. If there are vacancies that need to get filled, we'll go through the process, but we want to do a lot more outreach before we do that. So,
Okay.
so if you can
excellent.
find someone maybe and appoint them for the next, whenever is appropriate, your next meeting or however you have to do it through the process.
You'll let Dale know when that meeting is, because I'm sure we'll have somebody
Yes,
on the committee.
absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank
Thanks
you.
for your work, everyone.
And thank you both for being here today and helping us recognize the students. Thank you. Okay, before we wrap, did we get everybody's topical and newsworthy items? We're good? All right. And we got agenda items, no other announcements. Then it is 4:21, and the commission will adjourn to an adjourned regular meeting Monday, June 11th, 2018 at 3 p.m. or yet to be scheduled in the large conference room here at City Hall. Thank you.
Well, but